So, what do you think about Kegels?
I think they're great. I recommend them a lot for the right person. Um, but I do think they're over recommended. So I would say about half the people that come to me that are having issues with incontinence, everybody, the first thing they think is, oh my gosh, my muscles are weak and I need to do Kegels. That's the first thought everybody has. But about half the people, it's not that. It's that the muscles are too tight and just aren't working well in a full range of motion. And so if you just do Kegels, or if you go into the doctor's office and you sit on the chair that does like 100 Kegels a second or something like that, it will just make it way worse. And then people don't understand. They're like, well, I tried Kegels and it didn't help. So I don't know what to do now. Um,
Right.
and the reality is that it wasn't personalized treatment and it didn't.
I see.
Yeah.
Is there anything that people can do? I mean, outside of Kegels, because I know you're talking about like this basically like hammock of muscle, right, at the bottom of the pelvis. Is there anything that people can do to help tone or strengthen that besides pelvic? I mean, what could a person do, kind of DIY that would help that situation?
Well, the only exercises that's really targeted to the pelvic floor is the Kegel exercise. But that being said, those muscles are supported by a lot of surrounding muscles. And sometimes the weakness in the pelvic floor is because it doesn't have any good supports to pull against, or right? So pelvic floor muscles attach to your abdominal muscles via connective tissue. So if somebody comes in and they have very weak abdominal muscles, or maybe they've had a baby and they have diastasis recti, which is a gap between that abdominal muscle, um, they're not going to have good support for their pelvic floor and they're way more likely to have leakage. And they can do Kegels till the cows come home, but until they address that abdominal muscle, they're not going to have the results they want. Right. So we do spend time working on those surrounding muscles. I mentioned abs just because they're often weak on a lot of people, especially post pregnancy, but also a lot of the hip muscles provide support. We do a lot of work on posture because I see some people that maybe their muscles on their pelvic floor are tight on their right side and they drive all day, right? And so they're using that right side, or maybe they always lean to the right side, or they're always holding their kids on one hip, or something where they're only using one side of the body, and that's part of the issue. So we work on posture and then changing how we complete tasks throughout the day.
I had no idea. I thought it was just very localized. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
Learn something new every day.
I mean, I guess, right? Another good reason to do some sit ups or at least leg lifts, right?
Yeah.
Um, what what inspired you to go off and make your own practice, um, right? To start the perfect pelvis itself instead of working in a clinic or a hospital.
So I'd been in the hospital and there was a lot of benefits to being there. I had a wonderful boss. I just loved her. But pelvic floor therapy was not as much of a priority in the hospital. Keep in mind they're seeing everything. And so sometimes you have somebody that comes in and maybe they've had an amputation or they've had a stroke or they've, been paralyzed, and they would prioritize people that had those conditions, which is fine. There's a hospital and that's what they needed to do. But
Right.
I wanted to be somewhere where I could make pelvic floor therapy a priority and also give me an an avenue to actually do more education to the public, because that was one of the biggest issues I was seeing, is that people didn't know what we could do and how we could